Hey everyone, I'm still in full science mode, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the mad science demonstrations. As I said in my last video, I've always loved science, particularly chemistry, and I thought it'd be fun to show you some of the weirder things that you can do with some easily obtainable components. And after saying all that lovely stuff about chemistry, I'm going to take a huge step backwards and talk to you about alchemy instead. Now maybe it's just because of my fascination with both chemistry and history, but there's always been something about the ancient study of alchemy that's always captured my imagination. Now unfortunately, while it's impossible to actually transmute base metals into more valuable ones, at least in the alchemical sense, it is possible to mimic the effect with two very simple processes. So today I'm going to show you how to turn copper pennies into silver and turn silver pennies into gold. Okay, here's what you'll need. Some new shiny pennies, boiling water, sodium hydroxide, commonly called lye or caustic soda, and metallic zinc powder. Yeah, I know these last two probably aren't just lying around your house, but have a little faith. I'll give you more info about them as we go along. It's important that the pennies be new, or at least be clean and shiny, because we need to make sure that the copper on the surface isn't oxidized, contaminated, corroded, or just so covered in dirt that the process won't work. This is sodium hydroxide. You can still sometimes find it in hardware stores with the drain cleaners or the root killers, and sometimes you can find it in craft stores with the soap-making kits. Unfortunately, lye is used to make certain illicit substances, and so a lot of stores are refusing to carry it anymore. So if no stores in your area have it in stock, you'll probably have to order it online. Now you can also make lye at home out of wood ashes, but it's a very tedious process, and I just don't want to go into that right now. Also, make sure that it is 100% lye. Some other drain cleaners, like this one, do contain sodium hydroxide, but they also contain foaming agents, soap, metallic flakes, and other ingredients that reduce its efficiency, at least for this project, even though these are easier to find. Start with boiling water in a glass or Pyrex dish. Absolutely do not use metal or plastic because the sodium hydroxide is very corrosive. Now you're going to carefully add just a few teaspoons of the sodium hydroxide to the water. Now it is effervescent, so you want to add it slowly and carefully. Once you've got a good solution of that, you're going to add your metallic zinc powder. Now again, you can buy this online from science supply stores, but there is a much cheaper and more reliable source for it, and I guarantee you have it lying around your house. Stay tuned after the demo and you'll find out what I'm talking about. Now once the zinc has been added, you drop your pennies into the solution, and in just a few moments you'll see them start to turn silver. Carefully remove them from the solution, rinse them off, and voila, nice shiny silver pennies. Of course, we know they're not actually silver. They've actually just been coated with zinc in a process called galvanization. You see, the sodium hydroxide breaks down and combines with the zinc to form sodium zincate, which then bonds with the copper on the surface of the penny and then reforms into metallic zinc. Okay, so now we need to turn these silver pennies into gold. No additional materials are necessary. All you need is a heat source. Any sort of flame will do, even a candle or a lighter. But what I found is that if you use an open flame, it creates kind of a sooty residue, which makes it harder to see the gold color. So what I'm going to do is just put one of these on the burner on my electric stove. But if you don't have an electric stove, as I said, any sort of heat source or open flame will do the trick just fine. Once that burner gets good and hot, all we're going to do is drop a couple of these silver pennies on here. You want to watch them carefully. That'll do it. And as you can see, after only about 30 seconds on the heat, they've got a nice yellowish gold color to them. You can especially see it in contrast to the silver color that they were before they went on the heat, and the copper color that they were before we started the whole process. Now imagine if you did this sort of thing in front of an audience hundreds of years ago. You probably would have been burned at the stake for witchcraft. So how did the simple application of heat turn our silvery, zinc-coated penny into gold? Well, it's actually not gold at all, it's actually brass, which is a gold-colored alloy of copper and zinc. The zinc that we just put on the surface of the penny is really only a few microns thick. Once heat is applied, it basically just melts into the copper and forms the new alloy, brass. Oh, and one word of caution. Brass has a relatively low melting point, so be careful not to overdo it on the heat. And that's all there is to it. It's really pretty simple, but I think it's really pretty badass. I think if you're ever stumped for a science fair project idea, this would make a great one to show the properties of metals and alloys. And now, as promised, I will reveal to you my source for extremely cheap metallic zinc powder. First, let's take a closer look at an ordinary copper penny. Now, copper pennies are not solid copper as you might think. It's actually only a copper shell over a core of... That's right, zinc. Now if you look at the cross-section of a penny, you can see that there's actually barely any copper at all. The inside is all silvery colored, and that is pretty much pure zinc. Now if you use a rotary tool to grind off all the copper on the surface, you're left with a silvery colored disc of zinc. This is known as a slug. Now if you use a grinding stone or a drum sander, you can simply grind down this disc over a container and you'll get enough zinc powder to coat several pennies, and it literally costs you 1 cent. Now, that's not a bad deal at all. And that's it. That is my mad scientist, or maybe I should say mad alchemist video for the day. As always, if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. That really lets me know that this isn't all a complete waste of my time. Ha 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 ha!